goals on page. They are bridge to understand, tools for empowerment, and source of strength for the young minds that will lead us forward. A shining morning to all. This is Charanpreet Kaur. Delight and privilege to welcome you all to this 6th edition of Orange City Literature Festival organized by SGR Knowledge Foundation powered by Raisoni Education. It's such a pleasure to have you all here as we continue this incredible journey of exploring diverse topics that inspire and empower. Today, we have an extraordinary speaker who brings with her a wealth of knowledge and experience, a unique perspective and a commitment on impactful storytelling and social change. Our guest speaker is someone who wears multiple hats with effortless grace. Her words don't just inform, they spark conversation that drives change. But that's not all. She also ran a transformative workshop series on gender for young adults where she passionately educates for understanding equity and empowerment. Now, let's hear it up on Story of Strength, inspiring young readers and through history, mystery and gender equality. Today, we have with us Swati Senugupta Madam. Please give a huge round of applause for her. She is an author and a gender rights educator. Her books include Incredible Life series, 8 non-fiction books for young readers, Rebellion in Ranchi, How to Feed and Mind Out of War, Gun on My Red Earth, Murder in the City, The Talking Bird and a Tea Garden Party. She runs a gender workshop series for young titled The Elephant in the Room. Former journalist Swati ma'am has worked over 2 decades with leading newspaper in India. She lives in Kolkata. Today, her spark speaking words on about story of strength, inspiring young readers through history, mystery, and gender equality. Diving into an essence and relevance, her insight promised to give us a new lens through which to view the fantastic topic. As the topic itself is captivating and we will dive into it, it is a request to ma'am to please take a time frame of 40 minutes and conclude it. Thank you so much, ma'am. Over to you.
So this is not going to be a formal session where I'll just speak and you will listen. We'll talk, okay? It's going to be like an interactive discussion, okay? So first I'll introduce the books. I haven't got all the books here. This is an 8-book series called the Incredible Life series, and the books are, first I'll just mention the names of one is on Savitribai Phule. You're all familiar with Savitribai Phule. There's Anandibai Joshi, there's Jhalkari Bai, Arati Saha, Birsa Munda, Satyendranath Bose, Bhagat Singh and Milkha Singh. So the 8 books are on them. 1 book is on each individual. So as you know that we are going to talk about stories of strength. So I was thinking hard, you know, when I was thinking of the word strength, what are the words and phrases that come to your mind? Strength? Resilience, that's a very good word, yes. Power. What else? Perseverance, yes. Stamina. Who said stamina? Okay. What else? You set a goal and you're very focused, right? And when we talk about strength, you know, strength can be of 2 kinds. One can be physical strength or stamina, and mental strength. That is also, you know, you require that, you know, stamina to sort of achieve your goal. The thing is, you know, the goals we set and the goals we achieve, we function with our body. But without the mental strength, even the body can't achieve what it wants to, right? So of these 8 individuals, the success stories that I've written about, some of these individuals, they were not strong physically at all at some point of time. You may not have read the book, but you have certainly watched the film on Milkha Singh. So you know the kind of trauma that he went through in childhood, and he didn't get enough to eat at some point, and he did not even initially qualify to be in the army. So he was not at all strong in the body, but the way he was focused and he wanted to do something, and nobody thought he could achieve what he had, right? So that's resilience, that's strength, that is power. With a strong mind, you can achieve what you want to with the physical power. And I cannot talk about all the books, so I've chosen 2. One is on Anandibai Joshi. Have you heard of Anandibai Joshi? Okay. Who was she? First doctor who got a medical degree outside in the US. Because there's another lady, Kadambini Ganguly, who became a doctor in the same year in India. Okay, so there's Kadambini Ganguly and Anandibai Joshi. Anandibai Joshi, while she wanted to get a medical degree, she was very upset and disgusted with the way things were around her in India. So that's why she was so frustrated, so agitated, that she wanted to go to the US to pursue her education. And a lot of you will be familiar with Savitribai Phule's that story, where she goes to teach and people are slinging mud and stones. Something also similar happened to Anandibai Joshi. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Yeah. When she used to go to school, wearing boots and socks and boots and a sari, then people would spit on the road, and say all kinds of things. And because she got married very young, as I was talking earlier about weak body, children used to be married very young. At that point, she got married when she was only 8 years old, and a lot of research around that time later show that if a person has a child, if a woman has a child at a very young age, that can very harm the body immensely. And she became very weak after that. She was so strong in the childhood that she was called, I don't know how to pronounce that word, Malla, which is Pehelwan, what is that word? Malla, right? So because she had fought against and defeated a cousin brother. It was when she was, I think, 6 or 7 years old. It was unthinkable. She was very strong in the body. And that woman became very weak. But as I was saying, that physical strength and mental strength, she was so firm in her belief that she wanted to get that medical degree that she went and got it. And after that, sadly, she could not practice because she fell ill and she died immediately after she reached India. But she had proved the point that she wanted to. That is what, not many success stories are, felt through that one thing that one achieves. Like Milkha Singh, he didn't win a medal at the Olympics. But that itself was a success, considering, the hardship. Nobody thought he could even go there. So we must assess a success story in terms of what a person has achieved after going through such hardship. That is also a measure of success. Similarly, for Anandibai Joshi, even though she could not practice the medical degree, she had proved a point and inspired so many women after that to pursue medical degree. So I'll read a little bit from the book, and I think instead of leaving the questions for later, you can ask questions through the session. So then it will be better. I said I won't just talk and make it an interactive session. I'll just read a bit from this part when Anandibai Joshi, initially she thought that she and her husband, they would both go to the US, because even at that time it was unthinkable that even men would go to the US. So she was a woman. People were just shocked and they were disgusted. They could not think they would do anything to stop it. So people had come outside their home this was in West Bengal. And they wanted to understand what is going on. Why does she have to go to the US? And why is she going alone? That also she was going to go alone, right? So then there was a session organized, and she thought that she would explain to people why she was going to the US, and that too she was going alone. Okay, so. Why do I go to America? I go to America because I wish to study medicine. Ladies, both European and native, are naturally averse to expose themselves in cases of emergency to treatment by doctors of the other sex. So there was basically male doctors, and women did not want to go to male doctors to treat themselves. And also for this reason, she realized through her own experiences that women suffered because most of the time their ailments would go untreated because they wouldn't go to a doctor. And that's why she said that, in my humble opinion, there is a growing need for Hindu lady doctors in India, and I volunteer to qualify myself for one. She wanted to be a doctor so that more women would be encouraged to come to doctors to get themselves treated, and more women doctors would also be there. So she also answered that whether there were no means to study in India and all that. She explained that it was not good enough and all that. And she also explained that why she was going alone. And okay, one of the things I want to mention here is that are there no means to study in India? What she says is that there are hospitals. Are you aware of this lecture that she had given around nearly 150 years ago? And it was unthinkable. It was a path-breaking lecture. If you can, it's available on the net. Part of it at least will be available. Please read it. It's very interesting. It's very interesting that a woman could speak at the Sri Rampur College in the year it was. February 1883. Okay, and she says that the instructors who teach the classes there, that though there is opportunity in India, the instructors who teach the classes are conservative and to some extent jealous. See how the word she uses is jealous. I do not find fault with them. That is a characteristic of the male sex. She says that they are jealous. We must put up with this inconvenience. See, the choice of words is so interesting. She says we must put up with this inconvenience, the fact that the men are jealous of women's success, until we have a class of educated ladies to relieve these men. Okay, we find it interesting that she finds that difficulty in women in pursuing education is not taking place because the men are jealous. And we must put up with this inconvenience till there are women, enough women, to relieve the men of this, to relieve these men. That there can be enough women to be there around so that the men will not be around to sort of disturb their progress, right? And she also says something which is very interesting, because at that time, she says, what will I do if some misfortune befalls me? And she says that to go to foreign countries is not bad, but in some respects better than to stay in one place. In going to foreign countries, we may enlarge our comprehension, perfect our knowledge, or recover lost arts. Everyone must do what he thinks is right. So she thinks from the heart, and she's doing something which no one has done before. She's brave enough to do that. Okay? And another very important thing she says is, why should I do what has not been done by any of my sex? Why am I doing something which no woman has done before? She says, one sentence is enough to explain. She says it is good, it is enough that the good of one must be the good of all. What is good for men should be good for women too, right? And she's saying this nearly 150 years ago when women were not even going to school, right? Very few women would have formal education. Okay. So, I wanted to speak about two aspects of this topic. That is, one is gender equality, and the other is history writing and how stories of strength exist in those places where stories exist but we do not know much about. And that's why I chose Birsa Munda. But for now, if you would like to ask something on Anandibai Joshi, anybody? Yeah.
Usually when we are searching about women who have achieved so much in the past, there are not much records available online or even in research books. So how difficult was it for you to compile that information about Anandibai Joshi when you were writing the book?
There are books available. So there's this book which I've mentioned here. One is that the first book on Anandibai's life was written in 1888. This was by a lady called Mrs. Carolyn Haley Todd. So other than that, Meera Kosambi's book is very good. It's available if you want to read. It wasn't very difficult, but if you're focused, you want to look for information. So there are lots of other things which you also need to know. Like you need to know about Kadambini, you need to know about the difficulty of men also. Around this time, even there were not too many male doctors also. Male Indian doctors were also very few because there was a general lack of acceptance of Western medicine in India around that time. So that was another part. So even during this time, and there were very few women who were getting formal education, let alone higher education. There was Kadambini's fight also. She was also fighting to get herself admitted to a medical school. Anything else you want to ask about?
I'll just speak without it.
You can come here so that the others can. Come here.
What inspired you to write these books?
Actually, my editor and I, we decided on the names. We felt that I think the stories that are inspiring stories are good for all of us. They help us feel good, and we learn so many new things about these people, right? Especially about those on whom, if you look at the names of the books, the titles, on whom the stories are written on, you will see that some are quite unusual names, right? Like Birsa Munda, which is not a subject which are meant for young readers, or too many books for young readers are available. So that was also something which we wanted to do. So that children or young readers, as I call them, we will learn more stories of people that are not generally available in history books or generally stories for young readers. That is the reason.
You want to ask? Yeah.
Anandibai Joshi were to be alive today, what sort of social justice, healthcare, or gender equality issues do you think she would be passionate about addressing?
I think that's a very interesting question, and some of you can answer that. Right? Who wants to answer that? That's a very interesting question. What if she were around here now? What are the things that she would have done or wanted would have addressed? Who wants
Working
to
for the
answer?
underprivileged women, providing access to healthcare to underprivileged societies and communities, and also, setting up free camps for diagnosis. I think she would be passionate about science.
And even maternal mortality, considering the
Yeah.
rates in India.
Yeah.
I had another question.
Yeah.
You mentioned that she went to the US to study. So how do you think that sort of cross-cultural perspective shaped her views on healthcare? Like, do you think if she had studied in India, she would have the same amount of precision or scientific rigor that she had towards medicine? Or is that not a difference?
I wouldn't know about the details of the technical study of medicine. But what I can say is that Kadambini Ganguly was also a very fine doctor. So, and there were many other male doctors also in that during that time. So I think qualitatively there would not be much of a difference because the standards were very high in both the places, right? But in terms of she was looked at with great wonder and astonishment. The people in America were very impressed. And one other thing, since I will just quickly mention one thing about Anandibai Joshi. Are you all aware of very detailed? Do you know about her life in detail? No. So one of the very important things is that as a child, she was married when she was only 8 years old, and her husband would beat her up very badly, and because he wanted to teach her, and whenever she was making mistakes or whatever differences they had, he would very harshly treat her. And at the same time, he was also the one who had inspired her, pushed her to go to the US to pursue her. So there was a lot of contradiction. And after becoming a doctor, while she was writing letters to him, she actually became more and more confident when she was there. She went there, she was alone, and then I'd just like to read a little bit of a letter that she wrote to him. I'll mention this later. I'll just quickly go to Birsa Munda because I don't think we have much time. Yeah. So why I want to mention Birsa Munda a little bit, because and also I have one more book in the series on Jhalkari Bai. The thing is, there are many histories, as in the topic there is mystery and history. So which is mentioned, a lot of history remains untold to us. So when we are reading history, I think it's very important to understand or question. Do you ever think who wrote the books that we read, history books? When you read story books, you try to look at the name of the author. But how is history written? That makes a lot of difference, right? When Birsa Munda, have you heard of Birsa Munda?
Yes.
Yes. So he organized that rebellion, but in the British records, he is described as Balu Birsa, madman. Why? Because he was challenging their authority, right? So a lot of history written around that time, it's the record is history is always written by the people in power, right? So that makes a lot of difference. That's why even when I was researching on Birsa Munda, there's a very good book written by K.S. Singh, who is an authority on not only Birsa Munda but also stories, the history of Jharkhand, Bihar, that region. And he refers to all these records where he is described as a madman, a person who is challenging. And also stories for young readers often do not write about religion, about politics, right? So some of the stories, especially the Munda, is on politics. I think it's very important also. Why should you not read certain stories in history simply because they are so-called not for children? Is there anything that is not for children, not for young people to know? Do you think that there are subjects which, yes, what are those things that children should not be told about?
Politics and very harsh past, and we should not.
It's about violence, those things. So then a lot of things will remain unknown, isn't it? Don't you want to know? Don't you wish to know? Yes? So I think anything can be told in stories for children. Do you agree or not agree? No? Not everything can be told. So then please do read the Birsa Munda book. It has politics, it has violence, it has religion, all of it. Because the way it is told, it is an important rebellion. Birsa was seen by so many people as a god. He was called Dharti Aba. But why did he become that god? Because in that story the story that is not told to children are stories of human beings, about people whose lives we do not know much of, we are not told much about. Like in Indian history, a lot of that, the history of that region, Jharkhand, Bihar, is not told to us. Isn't that true? Or the stories of Adivasis? Why? They are just like us, right? They are like us. So shouldn't we know about their stories, about their history, about their rebellion? So I think it's important to know every part of the country, the history of everywhere in our country. We are studying Indian history, right? And nothing should be left out of history because of it involves violence, it involves politics, because politics is also about what is politics? It's about power. Politics is about power. One is more powerful, one is less powerful, and it's a clash of that. So why Birsa Munda revolted? Because the Mundas, that their lands were being taken away by the rich people, the zamindars. They were being cheated. Why? Because they did not have the communicative system was different. Because the British were ruling and they did not know English. So they were cheated by, they were made to sign documents and their lands were being taken away. And they were not given food to eat. Right? So that's why they rebelled, and they did not think that a poor person, an unfed person, could rise up in rebellion. Right? So it's a human story. It's not something that cannot be understood by children. Right? And the story of Jhalkari Bai. Story of Jhalkari Bai, when I started writing, do you know who Jhalkari Bai is? Yes. Some of you may have watched that film and know a little bit about Jhalkari Bai. Who was Jhalkari Bai? Do you know Rani Lakshmi Bai? Yes. So Jhalkari Bai was a lady, a woman warrior in her army. And there are many, some people say that Jhalkari Bai never existed, did not exist. Okay, the fact that it's just a story. So the book on Jhalkari Bai, as I have written, it's based on oral history. Are you aware of what oral history is? It's a very important, it's all stories that are told to in the form of songs and poetry. but that itself should be valued. When I was talking about history writing, as to who wrote the history is very important. We often neglect oral history, right? So oral history is also very important to value and understand. Okay. So is there time for me to read a little bit from Birsa Munda? So one of the first protests against the British was by Tilka Manjhi, an Adivasi leader who fought the British in 1784. This was in 1900, the Birsa Munda's rebellion. Birsa had gone to school and he had converted to Christianity, and he had gone to school, but in school when he started studying and he learned about so many new things, and he understood that education opened his eyes, and he understood that the British were exploiting them, and the zamindars and the British, they were exploiting them. But he realized how to organize a rebellion against the British, against the rulers. Because their own people, the Mundas, they were themselves, they were not going to school, not many of them knew, they were not organized, and they had a lot of, bad habits. They were drinking and they were unfed, they were not properly fed, they had no land, they were very angry, and they did not know what to do. So that's why for Birsa the answer was religion. Religion could influence people a lot. And he became this healer and this person who could take them out of this difficulty. That's how he became a religious leader. And gradually, bit by bit, from a religious leader, he gradually became a political leader. So the whole movement became a political movement, right? So that's how this very interesting, this transformation of a religious movement to a political movement took place. If you go into the details, if you read the book, you will know how nicely it transforms, and it was a full-fledged armed rebellion against the British. Okay, so I will not read again from the book, but let us discuss a bit. If you have questions, I think I should answer the questions. If you have anything to ask.
Yeah.
I have two questions. The first one is, I know that Birsa Munda fought to even preserve the tribal traditions or customs while fighting the British rule. What do you think we can learn from it in terms of today's, this race or war against cultural preservation and modernization on the other hand? What can something that we can take and apply today?
That every culture, every tradition has to be respected. That it doesn't mean each individual. They have different people have different languages, and no one language or no one culture is inferior or superior to another. That we all must respect and understand others' cultures and others' traditions. I think that.
Yeah, and despite all his contributions, he is not as well known as the other freedom fighters. So why do you think that is, and what can be better done to honor his legacy apart from reading the book?
Yes, I think that is how we can understand what can be done. I do not know, apart from writing more about such stories. But yes, as I was mentioning Jhalkari Bai's stories, oral history also has to be respected. One of the things in Jhalkari Bai's story, why it was written, is because not many people, it will take a may I take a little bit of time to explain this? See, the fact is, for the past 50 to 60 years, the Dalits have been writing their own history, because they have been saying she was born in Bhojla, which is a little away from Jhansi, and she was a Dalit woman, and Dalits have been saying that in history writing we have been erased from history. Our history does not exist because the people in power have not written about us. So that's why they are writing their own history, and this history exists in those small pamphlets which you find in melas, which are written in regional language, which are found in melas, written in Hindi, and in the process, the Dalits are saying that you have not written our history, so we are writing it. So, more than the fact that whether Jhalkari Bai actually existed, whether she actually fought that war, more important is to understand the politics. That the Dalits are now in charge. They are saying that we are in charge of our own history. You have not written about us, so we are writing a history of that period. Okay, so I think all these stories also need to be studied, need to be read. So history is not just about history books. That's the purpose of writing these 8 books, to understand not only the success stories, these are not just stories of strength, and what else is written there about gender equality, about histories, about mysteries. We need to understand the various layers of history writing. Why do we not know the story of Jhalkari Bai? Why do we not know the story of Birsa Munda? Once we understand that, then it makes more sense. At one point of while researching on Jhalkari Bai, I thought, should I write this book? Nothing is available. So then I watched those videos, I read those pamphlets and books, and I read the research work on the Dalits writing their own history, and then it makes sense to actually write the stories that is based on oral history. Mahashita, are you familiar with Mahashita Devi's work? Or you know Mahashita Devi? So she has written a book on Lakshmi Bai, and in that story you find mention of Jhalkari Bai, because she had so her source was oral history on the songs and the poetry of people. Generations of the grandparents told my grandmother, her grandmother told my grandmother, that kind of stories which are passed on from one generation to another. That also is a reliable source. So we should not give less importance or to oral history, right? So that's about it. If you have any more question, I think you can ask me after the session outside.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for inspiring books for young generation. Audience, I am sure that you would be taking back a great spark and thoughts and idea that was shared by ma'am. Thank you so much, everyone. You can meet ma'am outside if you want any questions, if you have it. Thank you so much for being a wonderful audience. Thank you, ma'am.